The fog always came before dawn, thick, silver, breathless. It rolled across the abandoned town like a living creature, swallowing old rooftops, broken lanterns, and memories the world had tried to forget. And on nights when the moon thinned to a pale sliver, the fog whispered. People who heard it never stayed long enough to tell the tale. But on this night, two figures stepped into the heart of it. Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo, drawn by a mystery older than the town itself, began with a sound. Fragile. Like a voice calling from underwater. A whisper. Xiao Zhan froze first. His breath puffed out in tiny white clouds as he strained to catch the direction of the sound. "You heard that, right?" he murmured, though the tremor in his tone made it clear he hoped the answer was no. Wang Yibo nodded once, slowly, eyes narrowing through the shifting gray. It came from ahead. But ahead was nothing but the thick, writhing fog that curled and swayed like phantom hands. Every few seconds faint lights flickered somewhere deeper in the haze. Lights that weren't lanterns or reflections, but something colder, something wrong. And still, the whisper came again, this time clearer, a voice calling their names. The air tightened around them as if the fog itself inhaled sharply. Xiao Zhan inhaled sharply, heart pounding. "It knows us." Yibo didn't flinch. His jaw set. His grip on the old brass lantern tightened, the flame inside flickering wildly even sheltered by glass. "Then we go in carefully." Carefully was an understatement. The town beneath their feet was a skeleton of a world that used to live. Broken windows, collapsed roofs, moss climbing the walls like forgotten memories. Every house had its doors open, like mouths caught in an eternal silent scream. But what terrified Xiao Zhan wasn't what he saw. It was what he heard. At first the fog whispered like a far-off voice swept by wind, calling in fragments. But the deeper they walked, the louder it grew. Layered voices. Dozens. Hundreds. Crying, laughing, begging, commanding. Overlapping like tangled threads. Until it wasn't just whispers. It was words. "Come back. Don't leave. Stay with us." Xiao Zhan slowed, every nerve in his body shuddering. "These voices, they sound like—" "I know," Yibo cut in, his voice suddenly hollow. "Like people we knew." As if on cue, a new voice drifted through the fog. Soft, delicate, crystalline. Familiar. Xiao Zhan's blood froze. It was the voice of someone he had lost years ago. Someone who could not be here. Someone who was dead. "Xiao Zhan." It whispered, warm and haunting. "Help me." Yibo stepped in front of him instinctively, protective, grounding. "Whatever you hear, whatever you see, it's not real. Don't follow it." But Xiao Zhan's knees weakened. His eyes misted. The fog closed in, thick enough to touch, swirling around him in eager tendrils. "It sounds like her," he whispered painfully. "Exactly like her." And the fog responded. It shifted, bent, curled, and then silhouette formed. Human. Familiar. Standing just ahead of him. Xiao Zhan's breath shattered. Yibo grabbed his shoulder hard. "Don't. It's a trap." But the silhouette lifted a trembling hand. "Xiao Zhan, please." Every instinct screamed for him to run. Or cry. Or collapse. But he could do none. The fog moved again, this time forming a second figure behind Yibo. Then a third. And more. Soon the street was filled with soft, wavering silhouettes. Faces blurred by mist but unmistakably mimicking the shapes of people they had both known, both lost, both buried in their memories like old wounds. The fog whispered louder now. Overlapping, suffocating. "Stay. Help us. Don't go. Come home." Yibo exhaled sharply, pulling Xiao Zhan back. "This place wants something from us." Xiao Zhan nodded, though his eyes never left the silhouette calling to him. "It's feeding on memories. And fear." A sudden gust of cold wind rushed between them, slicing the fog open like a blade. Through the fleeting gap, they saw something impossible. Far ahead in the distance, beyond the silhouettes, beyond the ruins. A glowing shape. Door. Not a normal door, but a shimmering white frame hovering midair, humming with power like an ancient heartbeat. Strange symbols circled it in slow, hypnotic spirals, as if the door wasn't built but summoned. Xiao Zhan swallowed hard. That wasn't there before. It wants us to go through it, Yibo murmured. Before Xiao Zhan could reply, the fog snapped forward violently, swallowing the silhouettes and leaving behind only chilling laughter, like children playing in the dark. The lantern flickered, the ground trembled, and the door pulsed. Once, three times, pulling, this time with no disguise. A deep voice echoed through the fog, long, low, ancient. Enter. Xiao Zhan shivered. What is doing this? Yibo didn't answer immediately. His gaze sharpened, jaw tight. Someone or something that knows how to control fear. And memories. And us. Suddenly, the fog around them twisted upward in a spiraling column, forming a towering figure, its shape shifting like liquid shadow. No face, no body, only fog sculpted into a tall, imposing presence. Two glowing eyes opened inside the mist. Cold. Me. Knowing. Xiao Zhan's throat closed. Yibo. I see it. The fog figure stepped forward without footsteps, its movements too smooth, too fluid, too inhuman. When it spoke, its voice was the voice of everyone and no one all at once, a chorus both beautiful and horrifying. You came, as the fog foretold. Xiao Zhan stepped back instinctively. What do you want from us? The fog figure tilted its head. What all lost things want. And what's that? Yibo demanded. It didn't blink. Didn't shift. Return. The ground quivered beneath them. Cracks split open the old cobblestones, releasing faint streams of white vapor that coiled around their ankles like chains. Return to what? Xiao Zhan asked sharply. The place between worlds, the fog whispered. Where memories live. Where forgotten souls linger. Where endings begin again. Yibo's eyes darkened. We're not going anywhere. The figure lunged. Or rather, it expanded, its form exploding outward in a violent burst of fog, swallowing them in a vortex of icy wind and screaming voices. Xiao Zhan clutched at Yibo's arm as the world spun. Hold on. Don't let go. Yibo shouted back, gripping his hand tightly. Inside the whirlwind of fog they saw things. Visions, memories, dreams, nightmares, flashing like broken film. Xiao Zhan saw his childhood home. His first heartbreak. His biggest fear. Yibo saw shadows of people he had lost. Choices he had regretted. Battles he still fought in silence. The fog twisted their memories, distorting them into something monstrous. Faces they loved melted into hollow-eyed specters. Moments of joy rewound and shattered like broken glass. Xiao Zhan screamed against the onslaught, tears ripped from his eyes. Make it stop. Yibo forced his voice through the storm. Xiao Zhan, focus on me. He reached through the swirl of memories, pulling Xiao Zhan closer, grounding him in the chaos. Their hands locked, their breaths synced, their minds steadied. A burst of light flared between them, blinding, strong, alive. The fog recoiled with a furious hiss. No! The light grew brighter, flaring like a star exploding, pushing the fog back, ripping apart the vortex. The ground steadied. The whispering stopped. The fog thickened once more as Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo stepped forward, each movement stirring the mist into ghost-like spirals that danced around their feet. The silence that followed the scream of the vanishing fog figure felt wrong, too sudden, too deliberate. As if the town were holding its breath, waiting for its next move. But it wasn't silence. Not really. Because beneath it was a hum. A low, deep vibration like something enormous breathing beneath the earth. Xiao Zhan felt it first. The ground thrummed like a drum beneath his soles. Do you feel that? Yibo crouched, brushing his fingertips against the cold stones. The faint light of the lantern flickered wildly, reflecting in his eyes. Something's waking up. The fog responded as if understanding the words. It curled sharply, retreating into narrow alleys and broken doorways, clearing a path directly toward the glowing door in the distance. The retreat was almost respectful, like the bow of a servant. Xiao Zhan's voice trembled, though he tried to hide it. Why would the fog lead us deeper? We just pushed it back. Yibo didn't look away from the path. Because it's not done with us. They followed cautiously. The fog thickened overhead, forming a cloudy ceiling that swallowed the sky. Something dripped from above, cold like dew but heavy like tears. It hit Xiao Zhan's cheek and slid down like a drop of ice. He wiped it off quickly. It's crying. Yibo stiffened. It's remembering. The houses on either side of them loomed, glassless windows staring like hollow eyes. And then, without warning, the windows started to glow. Softly at first, then brighter, flickering like candles in a forgotten shrine. Inside each illuminated window was a scene. Not random scenes. Their memories, rendered in fog. Xiao Zhan gasped as the first window filled with images of him as a child, running through warm fields, laughing, holding his mother's hand. But the fog twisted the images, warping the faces into something uncanny. It's too dark. Smiles too wide. The little boy paused mid-run inside the window, turning his head sharply as if sensing them. And then he smiled. Slow, eerie smile. Yibo moved closer, lantern lifted defensively. Don't look at them too long. But Xiao Zhan couldn't look away. The fog child inside the window lifted his hand and traced the outline of the glass, mirroring Xiao Zhan's trembling fingers. Then the child whispered, lips moving, no sound, but somehow Xiao Zhan heard it inside his mind. Come play. He jolted back, stumbling into Yibo's chest. Before they could recover, another window glowed on the opposite side of the street, this time showing Yibo's memory. Except it was wrong. It was a memory he had never spoken aloud. He stood frozen as fog formed the shape of a boy. Young Yibo, smaller with scraped knees and lonely eyes, sitting on an empty swing in a deserted playground. Foggy Yibo looked up at the real one, lips parting. You left us behind. The words slithered through the fog like a blade. Yibo's jaw clenched. That's not real. Foggy Yibo tilted his head, smile widening unnaturally. But you remember. More windows lit up. Dozens. Hundreds. The entire street flared alive with scenes from their pasts, some joyful, others horrifying, each memory stretching, cracking, peeling into distorted echoes. The fog began whispering again, faster, louder, overlapping like a sea of voices. You forgot us. You left. Come home. Stay with us forever. Xiao Zhan covered his ears, but the voices bloomed inside his skull. Yibo, we have to move. They ran, but the fog didn't let go easily. The windows shattered one by one with sharp cracks, sending shards of white mist spiraling into the air like glass made of cold breath. The mist fragments gathered behind them, forming a rushing wave that chased them down the narrow street. Yibo grabbed Xiao Zhan's hand, pulling him forward as the fog shattered again behind them, this time forming long claw-like shapes reaching for their backs. We're close, Yibo shouted. The glowing door up ahead pulsed brighter with every step, its symbols spinning like fiery wheels in the air. But the fog wasn't finished. The claws lunged. One brushed Xiao Zhan's shoulder, and a shock ran through his body, showing him a vision so vivid he screamed. He was drowning. Underwater. Hands pulling him deeper. Voices chanting. Stay, stay. Xiao Zhan. Yibo yanked him back into reality, pulling him forcefully. Don't look. The fog grew angry. Roared. A sound like 1,000 windstorms erupting at once. The ground cracked open beneath them, long fissures glowing with pale blue light. Fog spewed upward like volcanic smoke, forming a massive figure that towered above the shattered street. A new one bigger than the last, with limbs that stretched into the sky. Its face was only a mouth carved from darkness. And it opened. Xiao Zhan's chest tightened as the creature inhaled, the air dragging violently toward its gaping void, pulling their bodies with it. It's trying to consume us. Xiao Zhan shouted, digging his heels into the ground. Yibo clenched his jaw, planting himself beside him. No, it wants our memories. The pull intensified. The fog around them thrashed wildly. Loose stones ripped from the ground and spiraled into the creature's mouth. Broken beams, roof tiles, even entire doors tore free. Xiao Zhan's fingers slipped. Yibo, I can't hold on. Yibo grabbed his wrists, anchoring them both. His voice roared through the chaos. Look at me. Xiao Zhan struggled to focus. His tears torn away by the wind. Their eyes locked. That was the spark. The same brilliant pulse of light that had saved them before burst between their chests. Stronger now, brighter, fueled by sheer will. The creature shrieked, the fog recoiling violently as the light expanded like a shockwave. Boom! The fog monster shattered into millions of mist fragments that rained down like silver dust before dissolving into the cracked ground. Silence. The glowing door pulsed again, softly. Waiting. Their breaths came in heavy gasps, minds spinning, hearts shuddering. Xiao Zhan wiped sweat from his forehead. Why does the fog want us so badly? Yibo stared at the door with a dark, serious gaze. Because we're the only ones who can open that. And what's behind it? Yibo finally looked at him. Something the fog doesn't want us to see. They approached the door slowly, the mist curling behind them like a beast waiting to pounce again. But for now, watching. Waiting. The symbols spun faster. The air vibrated. And as they reached out to touch it, the fog whispered one last time. Enter, and be unmade. The door flared white. Everything dissolved into light. And their real journey was only just beginning. If you enjoyed this continuation and want the next dramatic part, just let me know. And for your viewers, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more epic Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo cinematic stories.